Welcome back to this week's episode of the Rock Solid Sports Podcast. Today is January 14th, 2025, and we have our national championship matchup in college football, and none of us wanted it.
Nope.
Also, NFL playoffs been a little disappointing, but a little bit to talk about, and then hopefully some good games this upcoming weekend. So let's talk about it.
We gonna make it, baby.
Welcome back to this week's episode. It's been a while, about 2 weeks or so, but we are back. First of all, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to everybody. I hope you had a good New Year's. Did you have a good New Year's?
I did, yeah.
Good Christmas?
Yeah.
What about you?
Yep, can't complain.
Can't complain over here. So I hope everybody had a good one. I guess that's pretty much all we missed besides all of college football and all of the NFL playoffs. We are brought to you by Sluv. For a quick, go check them out on Instagram at sluv.co. That is sluv.co, or on their website at sluv.us. That is sluv.us, and be on the lookout for new shirts, hats, hoodies, etc. And if you haven't went and watched the last interview we had, go check it out after you're done watching this. So I guess we'll start it off with none of our teams are in the national championship. I'll let you start off wherever you want to in terms of the college football bracket. But to this point, no horse in the race.
Yeah, no. I mean, even Penn State, who I was rooting for after Georgia went down, they even lost. Just kind of like it's an interesting final national championship here, because it's like, I don't hate it. I look at it and it's kind of like, should be a decent game. Like, it's not really, like, there's been past ones where I'm like, ugh, because like you've seen it so many times. I will say this is different, so that it gets some points there for being different. But it's just kind of like, I don't really care too much. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really matter to me at this point. I guess I'm rooting for Ohio State just because I actually have some dogs in that fight somewhere. So yeah, I mean, that's it. But if we want to wheel it back to the Georgia game, I know that's where you want me to start at. So that one game for Georgia encapsulated what the whole entire season was like, which, for a lack of words, was a nightmare clusterfuck of a season for Georgia. Georgia never had any time at any point during that season. Georgia did not look like a team that could win the national championship, to be honest. I had to have my delusions because you do that as a fan, and that's your sole purpose. But at no point did we really blow anybody out. Like, honestly, the most dominant game that we had was that first game against Texas, and even that wasn't like insanely dominant. Like, we just kind of got a lead and held it. Like, that's kind of all that was. But the whole season was just kind of dreadful to watch. It was heartbreaking, heart-wrenching the entire time. And this game perfectly kind of encapsulated that, because I do want to give a shout out to Notre Dame's defense, because they did really good before I say what I'm going to say. But like, I will say that Georgia really did gift wrap that game for them. And like, here's the thing. You do that, you give the other team a lot of opportunities. It's still on the other team to capitalize on those opportunities no matter how good they are. So shout out to them for doing that. But Georgia, fumbling in their red zone.
I'd say the first 3 drives.
Yeah, fumbling in their red zone when they were about to score after they were churning down the field. Fumbling, giving them the ball in the 20 right before half, letting them get a kick return. Because I've always said that I think it's pretty rare that a kick return is solely based on the returner's real ability, and 90% of it comes down to how does the kicking team cover it, because it's a pretty hard thing to do, and only a handful of people have ever been really good at it. So we let that up. We let them go down and score. And our defense, I thought, actually played really good. I think they only let up 2 scoring drives the entire game, and that was a touchdown and a field goal. Our defense did what needed to be done. Gunner really didn't play too bad, in my opinion. That was his first ever start, and he was in a quarterfinal playoff game, and I think he threw for 230 something yards, and I think maybe a touchdown. I don't really remember, but it was just kind of a rough game from Georgia's standpoint, and I think it speaks to why Notre Dame has made it to the national championship, is because they may not be I'll stand on the fact that I think Georgia is a better team than Notre Dame. I think Penn State maybe is a little bit better of a team than Notre Dame. But what Notre Dame does really well that Georgia and Penn State didn't do is they play really mistake-free football, and they kind of just let the game flow to them, and then they take what they get. It was a little bit harder against Penn State because Penn State was playing also kind of a pretty, mistake-free game until the very end there.
Yeah, Drew Aller.
Yeah, no, and honestly, that really is what it comes down to in my mind, too. I texted you this. I said Penn State's not going to make it to the national championship because Aller has no game awareness. Because he's got to realize, obviously you want to win, but you could also definitely probably beat them in overtime.
Yeah.
I really think Penn State would have won that in overtime. You got to know where you are because, if they would have drove to, the 50 with, 20 seconds left, I get hucking something up because it's whatever. If they pick it, they're on their own 30 and they got to go the whole field. But instead, you're giving them the ball on the 50 and they only have to go about 15 yards.
Kick a field goal.
To kick a field goal and win the game. So, I just think Notre Dame's playing really mistake-free football, and it's really lending to their strong suit right now. And also Georgia, just everything with that, Sugar Bowl kind of was definitely off, especially with having New Orleans. That was terrible, and they had to move the game because of that. I do want to give a shout-out to Kirby, too, because I don't know if you know this, but it was New Year's Eve, during the daytime. His dad took a fall. He fell and got really messed up from it, was in the hospital while he was playing this game, and I want to say a day after passed away. So shout out to Kirby's pops. That's really, I can't imagine how he was able to really coach that game fully. Not saying that's why we lost, but I'm saying that couldn't be easy to pull.
It's a human element.
Yeah, to pull up to that game with that much weight on you I can't imagine he was able to give his full there. But yeah, shout out to Notre Dame. They're playing mistake-free football. They're really getting it done. They're just kind of doing what needs to be done right now. I do think that comes to an end with Ohio State, though. I think.
Yeah, let's hope.
It's possible. Anything's possible. Any given Saturday or Monday in this case. But if Ohio State continues to play like how they played, not really against Texas, but in the previous two games, I don't really see how this is that much of a competition. I don't think they're going to blow them out because it's a national championship. Notre Dame plays very mistake-free football. Everyone plays their best. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I could see it being Ohio State early and then Ohio State for the rest of the game, kind of going back and forth.
Kind of like Oregon.
Yeah.
Just get out early.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll stick in that round real quick. We'll talk Texas, Arizona State. What was supposed to be, I wouldn't say a walkover game for Texas, but I think the spread was either 6.5 or larger. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was larger than 6.5. Arizona State brought that game in a double overtime. You thought Texas's season might have been over there between what could have been targeting call.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably should have been. And then it ended up, going a couple more drives. Bert Auburn being the worst kicker I've ever seen on the planet for Texas. Thank God he got benched for that last game.
Yeah.
Not that it mattered, but the principle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Arizona State, we kind of saw Cam Scatterbo just take over that game, whether it was in the air, on the ground, receiving, passing, whatever. He probably had a tackle, and that I don't even remember in that game just because. But Arizona State ended up pushing that into double overtime and having Texas in first overtime at 4th and 13. And I can't believe, honestly, Texas won that game, even though they should have. It just didn't look like they were playing their best football. It hasn't looked like that since, honestly, we played Georgia the first time. They've kind of just been reeling and barely winning games since then, and it showed up in Ohio State, which happened in the semis. Obviously, Texas had a chance to go back to the national championship for the second year in a row. Can't get the job done. Play an Ohio State team, which right now is just, kind of firing on all cylinders since that Michigan game. Kind of lit a fire up their ass, which you never know if we look back on that Michigan game and they beat them. You don't know if Ohio State's playing this well football, at this moment. You don't know if they're in the national championship. I will say, congrats to Ohio State fans. I got a call from somebody who claims to be an Ohio State fan, but is actually a CU fan the other day. So I didn't really want to give them any attention, but shout out to all the Ohio State fans. Hopefully you guys beat Notre Dame. Who knows? If not, it would be a giant collapse to lose to the Irish. But all credit to them. But that game was the score doesn't really tell that game, the whole story. I mean, we talk about that all the time, but realistically, when I look at that game, just right now, it's 14-14.
Yeah.
It should have been tied up going into halftime if we didn't allow a 75-yard screen pass on the very last play before halftime. There's that, and then obviously the last play of the game essentially where, what's his name?
Jack Sawyer.
Jack Sawyer, yeah. Strip sack on his old teammate, Quinn Ewers, old roommate.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many times they said that.
Yeah.
A strip sack on him, brought it to the house, and that game was pretty much over from there. But, yeah, Texas had their opportunities. I mean, opportunity to tie the game late in the red zone, and they've had these red zone struggles since, what did we talk about, Georgia, Texas, all the way back when. And these red zone struggles continue. And I don't know what it is. I do know that Ohio State's a very hard team to just run it up the middle when you're on the one.
Yeah.
They've been the best all year at stopping that. So I know that's what one of the issues was, but the issue's been all year essentially. So I don't know whether that's Sark just not having packages to get into the end zone, whether it's just run it up the gut. And against some teams, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So, we have a Notre Dame Ohio State championship at the end of it all. Do you want to issue any apologies for Notre Dame from before the season?
No. You want to know why? Because
Do you want to say what you said before the season started?
Yes.
Okay.
Because at no point during this season did I say Notre Dame was a bad team.
No.
I have always been adamant that they are a good team. I do, however, don't like, and I will never like, and nothing will change, the fact that they do not play in a conference. I found out recently that they play 4 technical conference games against ACC opponents. That is what they do every year. They don't play in a conference, but they are allowed to play 4 ACC opponents, which were Louisville, Florida State, and then 2 other, who knows, who cares.
So it's just the bad ACC.
Stanford, I think, was one of them.
Stanford, yeah, no an ACC.
But, I mean,
team.
like, you sit back and look at the Georgia-Notre Dame game, and you go, yeah, it sucks because, and I don't know if quarterback would have made too much of a difference. Maybe the experience would have been there for if Carson. We lost our starting quarterback in a conference championship game, something that Notre Dame did not have to play in.
That's true.
And I think if anything, this season also shows that the number 1 seed or getting a bye, not good. You don't really want that, because I think in the NFL you want that because it's like a week off. Whereas in college football, I mean, you're playing 1 game in 4 weeks, and then are expected to play against a hot team that just came off a win in the playoffs. It's a really tough thing to do. But yeah, Notre Dame not being in a conference will forever make me mad. I think they are under that contract to only play 4 conference games until 2036. So
ways to go.
yeah, so they can literally get a random selection of ACC teams, which honestly you got about an 80% chance of picking a bad team. So I mean, it's just kind of rough that our guys in Texas too. I mean, Texas had a easy schedule, but like their easy teams are kind of middle of the road kind of SEC teams, which are better than a lot of teams. They don't have to go through these tough games and like lose players to injury and like really gas their guys out because they're playing, Army, Navy, Louisville, FSU this year, Stanford. Like they're not really doing all that. And I mean, like that's what annoys you, is that you feel like Georgia, in my personal opinion, had a lot more taken out of them throughout the season.
Oh, for sure.
We're coming in kind of hobbled into this game. Whereas then they were like, oh, well, we've played nobody. We didn't have to play in a conference championship game. We got to play our first game against Indiana, which is kind of like almost like a tune-up game to get ready for Georgia. Like they probably weren't even too worried about Indiana. So I don't know. It's just interesting to look at. I think them not being in a conference will forever piss me off. But they are a good team. It's just I don't know why they wouldn't get into a conference, because I feel like they'd be even better, especially if they got into like the ACC.
Yeah.
They can get better talent and kind of get even better as they go on. But shouts out to them. They did well. They've been playing good all year, even if it was against not that great opponents. I think, they came in here and played mistake-free football, which is what you got to do when you're not as good of a team.
Couple things. One, the NIU coach, I forget his name, really crossed the mind, 12 weeks later. But at the beginning of the year, he did tell Marcus Freeman the recipe to beat them, and ever since then, no team has beat them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we'll see is this upcoming Monday? Or is it in 2 Mondays from now?
It's this
upcoming Monday, which I believe is the 20th. Mm-hmm. So we'll see on the 20th if Notre Dame can continue this magical season. I think we should give credit to Marcus Freeman. Mm-hmm. I think 100%. That's pretty due. So credit to Marcus Freeman. And then this isn't really an issue. I don't really have a gripe with this. I just wanted to make a note of it. College football playoff, first year, 12 teams. First week of games, 9 through 12 seeds go out. So 9, 10, 11, 12. All those seeds are out. And then, like you kind of mentioned, you really maybe don't want that bye, because then the 1 through 4 seeds go out. with a couple of those, I think Georgia just got beat simply, and then I think Oregon just got beat by a better team. And then, like, the Boise State and the Arizona State, you kind of just get the terrible draw of getting, a Penn State or a Texas. But then the 1 through 4 seeds go out, and it left the 5, 6, 7, 8 in the semifinals, which I thought was pretty cool. So you kind of got all those middle of the pack, quote unquote, teams in the semis, and then 2 of them in the national championship. So I thought that part was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Before we move on from college football, do you guys have any gripes or good things about the college football playoff? What we saw the first year of 12 teams?
Yeah, no, I think they have a lot of really good stuff to work on. I think they got everything I feel like that they needed to find their feedback on. They found it out in this year. I think they should revoke if you win your conference championship, you get a bye. I think that should just be the top 4 teams get a bye, and so it also makes the seeding look better. I think it just makes it better if, the top 4 teams this year really were just those bye weeks.
I think it would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas. I forget who the 4th seed. I think it was Penn State. Yeah,
or it might have been Notre Dame.
Arizona State.
No, in the AP.
Oh,
I think
AP.
No, yeah, because Arizona State doesn't need Arizona State, Boise State. They don't need to be getting buys.
It was Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State.
Yeah,
that was in the college football playoff. But
AP's Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas.
So whether you just throw in Notre Dame or not.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just I think they should kind of do away with that. I would love to see the quarterfinals also be home games, played at the stadiums. I think that would be a bigger perk to getting that kind of bye.
Just the semis.
Yeah, I think the
but the Rose Bowl was played in the quarters this year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah. So yeah, it was all bowls in the quarterfinals. I would love to see those games become on-site games because I think it would have made things a little bit more interesting. I think Oregon puts up a better fight against Ohio State.
I just don't think the Rose Bowl would go for that.
No, yeah.
my own, I totally get it, but I just don't think they'd be going.
Well, I think what a lot of people have been wanting is the Rose Bowl to host the national championship every year, which I don't know.
I mean, it'd be fine. The weather's usually good especially out in California. It's just right now it'd be a bad time, obviously.
Yeah. But I would that's one thing I would like to see. I think it'd be really cool if these really top tier teams got to host a playoff game because if you're looking at a team like Georgia or Texas who might be in this top 4 a lot, they may never have a home playoff game. So I think it'd be cool to see that. But other than that, they kind of nailed it. I think fixing the no first round bye with the conference championship makes the first round better. Because I kind of had to think of it this year as the way I looked at it was the play-in theory of just if you look at this as a play-in to the actual playoffs, it makes that first round look a lot better. But I don't know. I think a lot of teams, wouldn't mind that kind of thing because I think Georgia with the new quarterback wouldn't have minded squaring off against an SMU or an Indiana for their first game to kind of get used to how they needed to play. But I don't know. Those are my only gripes with it. Is I just think that the buys I think could be touched up a little bit because I think that'll help the first round and kind of the seeding go through because realistically, the side that Texas Ohio State was on was significantly more difficult than the side that Georgia, Notre Dame, Penn State were on. To be honest, if Georgia would have won this game, I think they would have lost to Penn State. But I mean, it was a lot easier in that first round for them to get going through, and then the second round Penn State had to play Boise State. It was a lot easier of a path, and had Georgia played how Georgia could play, I think they could have beaten Notre Dame pretty well. Obviously they didn't. That's what they did all year long, was not play to their potential at all. But still, I think it could have been an easy path for Penn State and Georgia to get through. Notre Dame obviously played really well, but I think they need to make it to where it's a little bit more power heavy on both sides. There's one, real powerhouse on both sides. Ohio State in the first round's a powerhouse. That side didn't really have a powerhouse in the first round. So I think that's something they could work on, and I think that all comes from the buys.
Cade?
I mean, when was the last time we saw a 7-8 national championship? Ever?
Never.
Yeah, so I mean,
never in college football.
They're doing their job in that sense, which I think that's pretty cool. But I don't know. When you look at how the playoffs are going, who's played probably the best, that's it right there. At least for like I said, just the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Both those teams have been playing their ass off. Penn State, you can make an argument for too, but they obviously lost. So, but no, I think it's been fun. It's been fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
First round was rough, like you said. I think you have a good point about it. But I mean, after the first round, it's been electric.
Mm-hmm.
Any other college football notes? Maybe some looking forward to, I guess, next season. But I guess if I really don't want to say we can make our predictions because I think we're all going to choose Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
So I really don't think, unless you have any other thing to say.
I mean,
I will say the only reason I'd pick Notre Dame just as an asshole one against you just because they beat you guys, and I don't want Ohio State to win because they beat us, obviously.
Yeah.
But the other thing is I think I sent you this model on Twitter that, I don't know, they predicted the whole entire college football playoff. Every game has been right. I think this got tweeted in like December 12th or December 14th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Every game they predicted has been right, and it's Ohio State Notre Dame championship, but they picked Notre Dame.
Yep.
So I'm very interested to see how that model works. Like if this, because if it's just against everything,
yeah,
like it's against all Vegas spreads. Some of these games, other teams have been favored that they picked in these models, whatever. Notre Dame, I'm sure one of them against Penn State or Georgia. I'm sure Notre Dame wasn't favored in both of those.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if this model is correct and just how if Notre Dame actually does win. I'm interested to see how they figured all this out.
Yeah, no, I think there's a big thing to think about with this national championship is that we've been seeing a certain Ohio State through pretty much this entire playoffs. It kind of dipped a little bit in the Texas game, but if they play like that, how they played in those first two games, there's no way Notre Dame's going to win this game.
There's no way.
But it is also very, very possible that we have a Ryan Day masterclass, and it is a completely different Ohio State than we've seen the entire playoffs, and Notre Dame has proven that if you are not on your shit, they will beat you because they are really good at taking the opportunities that you give them and turning them into points. If they fuck around and don't play as good as they've been playing, they could easily lose this game to Notre Dame.
I agree. Any thoughts on that game?
The OSU Notre Dame game?
National championship.
I'm interested. I think it's going to be a good game. I feel like it's hard to bet against Marcus Freeman right now, the way he's been coaching these games. So I'm excited. An 8-point spread, I think, is fair, honestly.
Yeah,
but I think Notre Dame covers for sure. I think it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be good.
I really hope so. I'll just be rooting for a good game, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what else are we going to do on a Monday when Rod Wave doesn't have a concert here,
Yeah, I know.
So, hopefully I'll be able to lock in and see a good game. So
No, yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just like if Ohio State wins, the better team won probably, but if Notre Dame wins, then, hey, Georgia lost to the national championship winner, so I can say that out loud.
And Ohio State, fuck Ohio State. That's the only reason I hope they don't win is because, one, of unbearable fans, and two, they beat Texas. So, obviously, why would I root for them?
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, when I put on our Instagram story yesterday, if people had any questions for us, no really questions, just one comment from Scott. He said he's handing in his college football playoff card after I shat all over Notre Dame and they made a jackass out of me. So I think him and you can relate in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's just everybody hates Notre Dame. I mean, you'll never meet one person that really likes Notre Dame.
I've met a couple.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know one whole family that's a Notre Dame family, and that's about it.
It's about a handful. It's about
7 of them.
It's just like people
8 of them.
If people who are really into ball, they just don't really like Notre Dame. It's just always been a thing because they don't play in a conference. I think is the biggest reason why a lot of people just don't like them.
I think it's just old head Catholic males.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's their whole demographic.
100%.
I think Notre Dame fan. I think old person.
Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly old people. I'd go with that one.
I think Rudy, which is obviously now known as one of the most fake movies ever.
I know, isn't it? A lot of stuff got doxed about that movie, didn't it?
None of that really happened was real. When they carried him off the field, Joe Namath said it was a joke, and that's why they carried him off. Half the characters in that weren't real.
What happened to the game we love?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I was listening to something about Hoosiers today. So in Hoosiers, well, based on what I heard, complete opposite.
Yeah.
Everything real. So based on a true story.
Yeah.
So Rudy, it's a shame.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess we could talk NFL unless we want to get into a break real quick. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Maybe not even college football related, just something related rather than NFL before we get, to the break and then into the NFL. Maybe you guys watched a movie over break that interested you. Maybe anything. Anything over the hiatus that we might have missed or anything you experienced?
Yeah, I mean,
Rod Wave concert.
Yeah, 2 things. Watched Wicked not too long ago. Insanely good.
Yeah, you said it was good.
It was really
I've
good.
heard.
The last song and the last scene of the movie, full body chills. I'm not gonna lie, it was unbelievable. It ended, and I rewound it back, and then watched it again. And that's how heat it was. I think I might have done that 2 or 3 times.
It's out on streaming already?
No, I rented it because I wanted to watch a movie, and that was it.
What'd you rent it on?
Amazon Prime.
Okay, no free shout-outs.
Yeah. Well,
I'll blur it up.
but just one other thing. The Georgia football season is over. That is really sad. But for the first time since 2011, we can look forward to basketball season as Georgia fans. They are ranked number 23 in the nation right now. Also, shout out to Mississippi State, who is ranked number 15th in the nation right now. They had a real barn burner with Kentucky recently and lost. But, yeah, both of my dogs are in there. I might actually have 2 teams in March Madness, which is astronomical. I've never had a dog in the fight, it feels like.
Yeah.
I think maybe one year Mississippi State made it and just lost in the first round. I'd love to see one of those teams go deep because I think it's going to be an SEC team this year that brings it home because they are running college basketball.
SEC,
currently.
yeah. SEC is running college basketball. That's a fact. Anything over your hiatus that you'd like to say?
I mean, like Jay said, we went to a Rod Wave concert yesterday. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. Movie, the first thing I thought of was I watched the Joker movie, the new one for the first time, and that shit was buns. It was so bad.
Did you see it too?
No, I've never watched it.
No, I was hopeful, but I mean, I knew what going into there, what everyone said, but you can still hope.
Mm-hmm.
And my dreams were crushed, and it's over. So, yeah. I mean, besides that, I don't think so. I've been chilling.
I guess over my hiatus, I did watch Carry On, which was highly suggested by you and other people. Jason Bateman kind of in a new role.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool movie. I have seen a couple other movies over break. I just can't remember which ones.
Carry On is the perfect. You want to switch your brain off and see some dope shit for the next hour and 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Throw on Carry On.
Yeah. That's about it, really. I did watch the new Abbott Elementary and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia collab.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really like it. It wasn't enough It's Always Sunny for me, obviously.
I had a feeling it wouldn't be edgy enough.
No.
Nearly at all.
They try to make some funny jokes. And if you know, It's Always Sunny with Dennis, or I forget his Glenn something, and his real name, Glenn Howerton. Yeah. Yeah, something like that. His character in It's Always Sunny is known to just be like a weirdo, so they kind of played that one well because he was like, I just can't be on camera anywhere. So he just wasn't on camera for like half the show, which was kind of funny. And then other than that, my only other note over hiatus has been Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
And Russell Westbrook, I guess.
Yeah.
Westbrook has been playing out of his mind, and Jokic has been playing in his mind, which just happens to be out of everybody else's mind. So, and we're currently watching the Nuggets game, and Jamal Murray's doing something.
Playing out of his mind.
Yeah, playing out of his mind. So he has 9 points early.
I might need to take the Nuggets to the insane asylum.
Yeah, the Nuggets, they're not there. I wouldn't say back, but they're starting to make some strides. So with football season coming to a wound down, it's kind of, I don't even know if that's not a word. Coming in, whatever.
To an end?
Winding down, coming to an end, all the above. It's good to see the Nuggets and the Avs playing really well. Kel McCarr's playing really well. I think he's the leading defenseman in points by like 20. That's pretty insane. McKinnon also going crazy. So lots to look forward to at the end of this football season, which is coming up soon. February 9th will be the official last day of football with the NFL Super Bowl. But college football ending this week, a week from today. It'll be over. So, all right, we will get into a break. Jackson's going to tell you about Verb Energy Bars. And then on the other side, we will talk NFL playoffs and looking forward. Let's do it.
Verb Energy Bars give you that extra boost that you need in the morning. They have an assortment of different types of bars, whether it's from caffeinated bars for the morning, as well as protein bars, whether in the morning or after your workouts. My personal favorite right now is the chocolate chip banana bread. It's awesome. Helps me get through the day, through the podcast, also through the work throughout the week. So right now, if you go onto their website, use code ROCKSOLID, you can get 30% off your next order. Verb Energy is the best way to start your day. Go check them out.
Welcome back to the second half of the show. We're going to talk NFL playoffs because that has been going on. Me and Jackson's teams, the Falcons and the Colts, have been a goner for about a week and a half. At this point,
Falcons would be the Commanders. I'm just saying.
I don't know. We'll talk about it. But let's get started on that Saturday. Initially, Houston Texans versus Los Angeles Chargers. Caden, you were a little shocked that the Los Angeles Chargers were favored going into that game.
Yeah, I mean, hey, looks like my shock was correct
Yeah.
because they got their asses whooped.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. They're not a very playoff experienced team, just like the Broncos, so you should go in with a team like that I think same thing for them almost. No one really had high expectations for. Just to be there is not the worst thing.
Yeah, Jim Harbaugh leading this team from purgatory last year to the playoffs this year is pretty big jump, even though they did get bounced pretty hard. What was your thoughts from that game?
I think it was just, Texans maybe kind of in a matter of words getting their swagger back a little bit. I think I honestly didn't hate that the Chargers were favored going in this game because the Texans receiver core had been so depleted and it was just rough. And I didn't know if they'd be able to go against a Chargers team who's kind of really gritty and tough. But yeah, they went in there and they handled their business. I think they put a lot more fear in the Chiefs' heart than they initially thought was going to be coming from the team that was coming out of this game. I'm excited to see what they do moving forward. But yeah, I think the Texans just kind of C.J. Stroud had to lock in. Joe Mixon is insane. If they can really get their groove on, they're gonna be a hard team to beat.
A couple of notes. Yeah, I wasn't really upset with the Chargers being favored. The shock that we talked about, I could see it. Full hindsight, 2020 now that the Texans maybe at home should have been favored, but I think it was just like a coming off the past couple weeks kind of thing.
Yeah,
Texans didn't look great. Chargers looked like they were kind of in control of their own team.
Yeah.
That didn't really happen to be the case. Texans defense looked great in that game, forcing Justin Herbert to, I think it was like 4 huge turnovers. They made Justin Herbert look like a terrible quarterback, which he's not.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a terrible game, and he seems to keep doing this in the playoffs, and I don't want to keep giving him free passes, but I still have faith in him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll just have to see, going forward a couple years, especially with Harbaugh.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the Texans defense I wouldn't say overperformed, but played to a standard I think nobody was expecting them to play at.
Yeah, I mean, your Colts are in that division, but how close was that division race? Not very.
No.
Because if you think about it, there's a really good chance they knew, hey, we're going to lock up this 4th spot. We're going to play a team that's just about on par with us. Maybe they were hiding their playbook a little bit hiding their defense a little bit. And maybe that's why they look like they've been struggling for the past few weeks when in reality it was just they weren't really showing everything
Smoke
they
screens.
So I think that's a very possible outcome as to why they looked like they did before this and then came in here and just stomped on the Chargers. But I don't know.
And like you said, interested to see what they do against the Chiefs too, because Joe Mixon said this team compares to that Bengals team that went to the Super Bowl. Good defense, the offense kind of reeling, but they have a young quarterback. Obviously, they have Joe Mixon, and they're looking to shock some people. I mean, Chiefs are in their way, and if you want to make it out of the AFC, you're gonna have to beat the Chiefs. Yeah. So, and the Chiefs are coming off a 3-week rest, and I think pros take that a little better, the weeks of rest, and especially the Chiefs because they're kind of used to this the last few years. But I'm interested to see. I think, like you said, the Texans maybe put a little more fear into the Chiefs' heart than they wanted going forward. The next game, Ravens versus Steelers, division battle of the AFC North. The Steelers look soft, and I don't know if I've ever been able to say that in my life.
Yeah, I mean, they just never had a chance. I mean, from when that game started, I mean, the Ravens just kind of had dominance the entire game. I mean, they only beat them by 2 touchdowns, but it was there was no real stressing going on from the Ravens side. The Ravens' biggest issue moving forward is just going to be consistency. I think if they can consistently play to the level that they can, I think they are a very Super Bowl-bound team, to be honest with you. I think they're really on that path.
Hardest matchup's going to be this week, too.
Exactly. So, but if they can play consistent, I think there's a good chance they could keep moving forward in these playoffs, but we got to see that first because the Ravens have shown us time and time again that they are anything if not inconsistent,
especially in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Caden, any notes on Ravens Steelers?
Russell
Wilson hate?
I was gonna say Russell Wilson, baby. I've seen a lot of things talking about how we're probably much happier paying him all of our money than they are paying them their little amount of money. But I mean, the Steelers winning that game is a shock to the world. So the Ravens are a powerhouse. There's no stopping them.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, they're gonna have a tough matchup. Probably gonna be the best matchup of the week in this upcoming divisional round against the Bills. We'll talk that game. Denver Broncos, first time in the playoffs in 10 years since 2015, led by a rookie quarterback and Bo Nix, Sean Payton, second-year head coach for the Broncos, and a roster that was kind of counted out before the season even started. Caden, I'll let you start all your notes from that game.
I mean, hey, we played like shit. Let's not get it wrong. Josh Allen balled out. Their defense completely stopped us from doing absolutely anything. No running. Bo Nix didn't really have a great game. He didn't have a bad game. But, I mean, hey, like I said it the whole time. I wasn't even upset when we lost. We weren't supposed to be there anyway. So, the season was a win. Would I have liked for the game to be closer? Of course. But you can't win them all. So,
and ahead of schedule. You're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The season was you could say more than a win. We were not supposed to be in the race at all. We were supposed to win 5 games. So, hey, I'm not complaining as a Broncos fan at all.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, obviously it's going to be different for the players. The players probably won't see the season as success because I feel like you're going to every season Super Bowl, and that's kind of like your thought process. But I think, honestly, the biggest issue that Denver kind of had, I don't think there was a way Denver was winning this game. I mean, there was a glimmer. Like, if I had to give it a percentage,
it was that first drive.
5%.
That first drive. Yeah.
7-10, I was like, whoa.
It realistically could have been 10-10 if they didn't miss that field goal.
Yeah, but there was just like, I don't know if it's just like coaching and experience that was in there. I know you have Sean Payton, who's done a lot, but he hasn't been kind of in the playoffs really for a minute now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it had to do, it just seemed like a real lack of urgency. Like, they couldn't stop the Bills' run game. That was the biggest problem. They were just crushing them on time of possession. But then, like, there was 2 drives that they had in, like, late third, early fourth where they ran the ball, like, 3 straight times. And they would not throw the ball. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're down by, at that point, was probably, like, 2 possessions, like a very easy to come, not easy, but possible to come back lead. And you're kind of almost just conceding the game in a way. Your running game's not working. And then, like, after those 2 drives and the Bills kind of put it out of reach, Bo Nix put on a pretty damn good drive, throwing the ball around and getting them down the field. Of course, they had to go for it on 4th. They didn't get it. But, I mean, at that point, you kind of have to. But, yeah, it was just, like, the lack of urgency in that second half to kind of get something cooking. Like, just saying, like, hey, we're not supposed to be here. The Bills are a much better team than us. Fuck it. Throw that ball down the field. Just huck some shit down the field because I think that looks a lot better than almost pretty much giving the game away by just handing it off and handing it off and handing it off over and over and over again. So, I don't know. I think the Broncos, like you said, ahead of schedule. I think they got the one piece that every team needs to start really doing the rebuild, which is a quarterback.
Yep.
And I think now that they have that,
and most importantly, a quarterback and a head coach that want to play with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like dead serious, right? Right?
Yeah,
100%.
That's huge.
But yeah, I think once
that's not an easy thing in the NFL.
Not at all. And I think the biggest thing is, like, if you don't have a quarterback, you can go out and get D tackles and skill positions, and they can be great. But if you don't have the quarterback, you're not going to end up winning much or anything at all. So now that they have their quarterback, they can focus on getting the skill players and the linemen, and not having to worry about who's going to be our quarterback this year. I think they've kind of solidified, unless he has just like a shitter the next 2 years somehow and has a horrible fall off.
Hey,
I'm not saying he's going to. I don't think he is. I think he's going to be in this league for a long time. I think he's built like somewhat like a Josh Allen type build of, like, I'm going to be able to sustain my body for most of my career.
Played every snap of the whole season.
Exactly.
Broke his back.
Exactly. So I think I think he's going to be in this league for a while. So I think they're going to be straight on that. And I think now all they have to worry about is just getting skill position players to really help them out. It's going to be a big draft for that.
Yeah. Any other notes on the Broncos? Any rebuttal to that? Or
No, I mean, I agree. I think, the only rebuttal, I guess, not really a rebuttal, but, our O-line at least is pretty okay. They're all kind of old, though. They're getting there for surely. But right now, yeah, skill players. There's like a minute-long compilation I watched today from the playoff game that was of just drops from Bo, like with the wide receivers dropping the ball. So some help out there. Definitely a running back would be nice, but we're on the right track for sure.
if I had to grade the Broncos season, I'd give them an A. Like,
No, yeah.
I'd say I'd give the Chargers like an A minus, just because I don't know, they had a different, I guess, expectation. Like their roster was better going into the year. I'd say
they had a different ceiling.
Yeah, different ceiling. I'd say.
Yeah.
So I'd give them like an A minus, but I'd give the Broncos like an A. I wouldn't give them an A plus if they if that playoff game was close, or even if they beat the Bills, definite A plus. But just because of how bad that playoff loss was, I'd say A. But again, way ahead of schedule, and A is a great grade. Dude, that's like the second best grade you can get.
I think that
of the whole season.
Yeah, and I think that the AFC West is about to get very, very, very good.
I do too.
Because I think I like to look at the Broncos and the Chargers kind of in the same light of like the Chargers had their quarterback, they needed a coach. They got their coach. The Broncos had their coach, they needed a quarterback, they got their quarterback. And now both teams can focus on getting skill players because
putting some guys around.
Because Justin Herbert is a really good quarterback, and they're like, oh, he threw all these picks. I'm like, go back and look at half of those picks. They go right through the receiver's hands.
Yeah.
Like I think Ladd dropped one. Shout out to Ladd, by the way, breaking the rookie record for most receiving yards in a game. Shout out to my dog, friend of the podcast. One day, hopefully. But yeah, no, it went right through his hand. I think there was another one that like literally was like right in the heart of their hands, bounced off, and they got picked. So, which that's one thing I would love to see become a thing in the NFL is those not counting for interceptions towards the quarterback, because that's ridiculous in my mind. That's my little hot take is I think that if it goes directly in your hands and a statistician can look at that and say that should have been a caught ball and then it bounces off and gets picked, that should not reflect on the quarterback.
I feel like that's just a black and white line at that point,
Yeah.
though. But we'll talk about that when the NFL recap and previews come up. A for the Broncos, great season. Got to give a shout out to the Buffalo Bills. What was the stat? 32-12 against bald head coaches.
Yeah.
It's 32-13 now. Sean McDermott, impressive playoff win. He gets a lot of slack and a lot of eyes on him, I'd say, for his playoff performances. So the fact that they just got to come out in this wild card round and dominate essentially.
Yeah.
Good for the Bills. Josh Allen looked great. Their whole team looked great. Honestly, it wasn't really a competition, and nobody circles the wagon like the
Buffalo Bills.
So they move on next week. They play the Ravens, and again, what should be the best matchup of the week. I'm excited for that. We'll move on to Eagles Packers. The Packers might have a Jordan Love issue, and the Eagles, they look good. They look like probably the second best team in the NFC. Not really an impressive win. They kind of let the Packers hang around, but I think everybody kind of knew the Eagles were going to win that game when it started.
No, yeah, 100%. There's almost not even that much to talk about. It's just kind of like the
A.J.
Eagles,
Brown was reading a book.
Yeah, no, the Eagles just kind of got it done. They just were the better team, and they showed it by a lot. I think the Packers are close to being a really dominant team. I think they're just missing a few pieces. I don't know what they are just yet, but they got to figure something out. Is Jordan Love the guy?
He has to be. Gave him $200 million.
That's what I'm saying. And so, my little take in the beginning of the year about his contract may not, look too great right now, but, in 5 years of maybe missing the playoffs twice and never making it out of the first round, it may come back to be actually a pretty solid take of, is this your guy? He may be good, but is he good enough to get through what is probably going to be a gauntlet of an NFC for
NFC North too?
Yeah, for the foreseeable future. So I'm interested to see what his career kind of pans out to be. But the Eagles are just dominant. I mean, I think they are just hard to stop from scoring, and that's their biggest plus right now. And their defense is really good. They lost 2 players on their defense during that game. Nakobe Dean, and there was one more. I think Nolan Smith went out too, and literally didn't change anything. As soon as those two went down, I was like, we're going to have a good game. And then it just never got to that point. But, yeah, I think that game was just all Eagles the whole way.
Any notes?
No, I don't think so. I don't even think I watched the game. I won't lie. Maybe I did. I don't remember.
I think we watched like a little bit of the first half, but
Yeah, I mean,
once we got back here, we didn't really watch it.
oh my God. Yeah, no, I mean, Jalen Hurts, another rough one, but hey,
A win's a win.
that's what I was gonna say. It's playoffs. They won, so who cares?
Was that what that ooh was about? Was you looking at Jalen Hurts' stats?
Well, no, I looked at Jordan Love's 3 interceptions, and then I said ooh, and then I looked at Jalen Hurts' stats, and I was like, not much better.
Yeah, I don't really have any notes. The Eagles looked like coming into the playoffs the second best team in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, still do, I guess. The NFC really didn't impress this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to give credit where credit's due. But I don't like anything about Philadelphia nor the Eagles. So and their fans are a bunch of scumbags, as we saw on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Their fan, you didn't see it. One of their fans called one of the ladies the C word.
Oof.
And it's on video. One of the Packers fans, which was a woman.
He did get banned for
He did get banned for life, and Big Dom hooked the Eagles or the Packers lady up with a bunch of Packers official gear. So I don't know what happened before the video. The camera started rolling, but I do believe Philadelphia Eagles fans are scum just based on the videos and stuff I've seen. So I could believe it if that was the original context. But yeah, we'll see going forward. They have a tough matchup that we'll talk about in a second. Going forward, Jamal Murray is killing the Dallas Mavericks right now. Last game, though, of Sunday night would be the he actually fucking made that.
Wow.
Would be the Commanders and Buccaneers, which honestly probably was the best game of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels' late drive after Baker Mayfield turnover turns into a field goal by and a hilarious OCD kicker. Shout out to him. Shout out to everybody who has OCD. I know that shit's tough. So, I mean, the fact that he's able to do that, have crazy OCD where he's taking off his sock and shoe like multiple times before he's making a kick, and like that, just having that go through your brain, having OCD, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ended up making the kick. Zane Gonzalez, I believe was his name. And the Commanders get their first playoff win since 2005.
Yeah.
Which was last against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well.
Yeah, I think you got a really good mixture here of just a rookie quarterback who's kind of coming into his own right now and really kind of feeling himself with this team, and a mixture of a ton of experience. You got, Zach Ertz and Bobby Wagner, two guys who have been to Super Bowls and I think won them.
Both have won, yep.
Those are guys who know what that's like, and when you can
Dan Quinn is your head coach too.
Yeah, he's been there too. And when you can give insight to a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels of like, this is what this is going to be like you need to figure out how this is going to play out, and then beating a super hot Buccaneers team, that's huge, and I think it's going to give them a lot of momentum going into next week. I think they're meeting an immovable force, but
the Dans meet each other.
Yeah,
Danalytics.
I think they're running into a brick wall in Detroit right now, but that still doesn't need to take away from what they're doing. I think they are also a team that is ahead of schedule, kind of like how people thought they were going to play, and they kind of just stepped over that limit that everyone had them at, and that's pretty good. So I'm excited to see how they play against the Lions, but
yeah, that will be interesting. Any notes?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, we have seen, though, Jaden Daniels is full of, lost the word, miracles. So
yeah, we have Hail
So,
Marys.
yeah. Well, I mean, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not.
Yeah.
The Lions would have to put up an absolute stinker. But hopefully it's a good game. Like I said, 9.5. It's not the highest spread.
Yeah,
I'm
it could
kind
be
of
worse.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm kind of surprised it's not higher. But, I mean, I don't know. Go Lions, honestly. Fuck it.
Hey, my dad's a Commanders fan. Real quick, shout out to the Washington Commanders, 12-5 on the season.
Yeah.
No one would have thought 5 losses,
No.
and then obviously a playoff win as well.
I think we just had them as like a sneaky team.
Yeah.
Who's going to miss the playoffs, but
Yeah.
beat a couple good
Oh yeah,
teams.
yeah, exactly.
And now they're one of the best
Like
teams in
maybe
the
knock
NFL.
the Cowboys or the Eagles out from making the playoffs. And little do they know they're one of the last 4 teams in the NFC. So impressive season by them. I mean, Dan Quinn, first year head coach here, at least in Washington. teaming up with Jaden Daniels. I forget who their defense coordinator is, but Cliff Kingsbury being their offense coordinator. Kind of crazy to see all these moving parts come together and how good they can be in their first year. Kind of like the Denver Broncos, just a little bit better, but I think in a weaker conference. So it kind of plays and evens itself out. But yeah, shout out to the Washington Commanders. Shout out to Tampa Bay. I know you're not really very fond of them right now, but another impressive season by a team with what I think is no head coach. I don't even know if Todd Bowles exists.
No,
is his brain working when he's coaching?
Yeah, no, not really. But
two of the worst time management I've ever seen in that game, both in the first half and the second half.
Yeah, no, I agree. My thing was obviously as a Falcons fan, I would have loved to see us in the better team out of the NFC South made it. I think that's pretty obvious. Atlanta likes to score a lot of points, but their defense is pretty garbage. That's why their DC just got fired. So, I don't know. Maybe a little Robert Saleh in Atlanta as a defense coordinator. Wouldn't mind it.
Find out.
But, yeah, I think the Buccaneers were the better team out of the NFC South. I think they just ran into a hotter team in the Commanders.
And they played them week 1. Buccaneers won. So, kind of, the losing team always makes the most adjustments. All right, Monday, January 13th, it was the Vikings and the LA Rams in Glendale, Arizona, not in LA because of what's happening out there. Hope everybody's safe. If we have any listeners out in LA, obviously. Hope everybody's safe. And if you are affected, I hope everything gets built from the ground up, and you get back on your feet in the quickest and best way possible. It's going to be tough, but the city of LA could handle it. I know that. And they showed that on Monday night where the Rams just went into Glendale and stomped the fuck out of the Minnesota Vikings, who were a 14-win team in the regular season by Sam Darnold and their head coach, Kevin O'Connell. Sam Darnold, we kind of just talked about it during our break. He might have sold himself a lot of bags going forward into the offseason.
No, yeah, we were saying it just before we came back on is all he had to do was play decent football. He could have lost this game. It's not like this was an unlosable game for him, but getting blown out by the Lions last week.
Essentially 2 playoff games.
Exactly. And then going into this game and just getting the brakes beaten off of them by these guys. And I think it's just one of those things where it's just what do we take our chances on? Because you could throw them. I think what the right thing to do personally would be we're going to give you a 1-year, couple $1 million, prove it deal where –
or just franchise tag him.
Yeah, or franchise tag him and say your job's not guaranteed. You're going to be in a quarterback battle with J.J. McCarthy. We're going to see what happens because, we saw what Sam Darnold was this year, but his track record of what he has been in the NFL for so long leads you to be a little scared of, we don't want to throw a 3-year, multi-million-dollar deal to this guy, and then he reverts back to the Sam Darnold we've known since he's been in the league. So I think that's kind of what scares you there, but I think the Rams are also – there's a lot of experience in that L.A. locker room. They are consistently not the best team, but they almost always make the playoffs.
And they're a scary team. You never want to play them. You never want to play that offense in the playoffs.
Showed that one year how he could take a team all the way there and win the whole damn thing. There's probably a lot of guys still from that team on this one, so I think that's interesting thing to think about. I think they drew kind of maybe a good card going against the Eagles instead of the Lions. I'm not really sure, but obviously time will tell. But I think
Sean McVay versus Nick Sirianni. I know who I'm picking in that matchup 10 out of 10 times, regardless of the team.
Yeah, and so I think it's just one of those things where who knows, maybe Dan Campbell saying "see in the playoffs" was sparked a fire under the Rams to prove everybody wrong, but. I don't know. They walked in there with a purpose, and they just whooped that ass.
My only note that I want to mention real quick is I did pick the Rams to go to the Super Bowl in our existing our preview at the beginning of the season. I picked them to go against the Lions, and this time Matthew Stafford go into Detroit and beat them the second time around, what he couldn't do last year to make it back to the Super Bowl. It's looking okay right now. It's looking okay. So, and I had the Chiefs on the other side. So, hey, there's still a chance.
Mine's just null and void at this point.
Yeah, I did also have the I believe, who was it? I had the Jets in the AFC Championship against the Chiefs. So
we all had some.
That one was that one did not age well. Any notes? I know you guys didn't watch, obviously, because you were at the game or at the concert. But any notes on Vikings, Rams, or maybe Rams, Eagles going forward next week?
I do think I also had the the Texans playing the Ravens in the AFC Championship. So we're on pace for
that one's possible too.
We're on pace for a couple things here.
No, I mean, I don't know if anyone expected it to be that bad, but
No.
yeah, the Rams are looking good. Like you guys just said, a lot of experience in the locker room, and once it hits playoff times, any team can flip a switch and turn into a new team. Rams Eagles, it's gonna be a game. I know that much, especially if the Rams play like that. I wouldn't be surprised with the Rams winning at all.
I think we get that one Saturday night as well. I think that one will be Saturday evening. Saturday day being
It's gonna be a good game.
Chiefs, Texans, and then Sunday being Bills, Ravens. I hope the night game and Lions, Commanders in the morning.
Yep,
that would just make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be a great divisional round. I'm looking forward to it. Super Bowl is going to be exciting regardless of who's in there because we got 8 good teams. I feel like. Obviously, there's a couple I think that we can all agree probably won't win. Maybe being like the Texans and the Commanders, but other than that, you never really know.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is the playoffs, so any given Sunday or Saturday.
Yeah.
In this case, so.
Do we want to do a little rapid fire? Just predictions around the horn?
Yeah, go ahead. You can. First game, Chiefs Texans.
I can honestly go and I think I'm going to try to go into the Super Bowl and see how well I do. I think the Texans are going to give the Chiefs a really scary game. I think it's going to be a classic Chiefs victory on that day where it's all kind of falling apart, and then out of nowhere they're going to get a flag, they're going to get a call that's going to push them over the limit to beat them.
It's called Satan.
Exactly. I think the Bills-Ravens game, I think the Bills are good. I think the Ravens are a little bit better, and I think the Ravens are going to win that game. I think they might outscore them. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. But I have the Ravens going on there. Lions beating Commanders, not much to say there. I think the Commanders put up a good fight, but I think it's just going to be Lions. Eagles-Rams, I do think that the Eagles are going to take that one. I think that they're just a little too dominant for the Rams to handle. I think they move on. And then I think the Chiefs' luck does run out against the Ravens in the AFC Championship. I don't think you can keep that many close games throughout the season and into the playoffs and really keep pushing forward like that. I do have the Ravens beating the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. And then I think, to be honest with you, I think if it is the Lions versus the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, no matter on who's on the other side, I think whoever wins that game is going to win the Super Bowl. I think both of those teams are juggernaut powerhouses. And I think I'm going to have it's a tough one, but I think I got to go Lions. I think the Lions are going to beat the Eagles. It's going to be the Lions versus Ravens, and I think the Lions are going to take it. You don't have to go all the way, but I needed to let that air out.
I liked everything you said. The only change I have is I really think the Rams are going to beat the Eagles, and then Lions beat Rams, Lions, Ravens, Super Bowl, Lions win it.
I think both of you guys are off. Chiefs, I think. I told Caden this past Sunday, and I know it was a bad time because the Broncos were about to play, and I didn't give a shit. I woke up my bad. I woke up this Sunday, and I just had an epiphany. Good use of the word epiphany. I don't get to use it much. The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again this year. I hate to say it. Like, the vision just popped in my mind. I was like, I see them just doing what they do every year. You wake up on every Sunday when the playoffs start, and you're like, there's absolutely zero way the Chiefs are going to lose this game. And then, they have this terrible game, whatever, and then they always come out and they win it in the end. And you keep saying this devil magic isn't going to last much longer. I have bad news. If they have the 4 horsemen in their lineup being Andy Reid, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, they're going to win. And so I think they're going to handle the Texans, honestly, with ease. I think it might be a close first half. I think they end up beating them by 2 touchdowns. Bills, Ravens, don't agree with that one either. First time the Bills have been not favored in a playoff game since I think the 90s against the Ravens. I don't think that changes anything. I think it might be, oh my God, it might be Lamar Jackson's MVP to lose at this point. And I think that means a little more to Josh Allen. I don't know. Being at home in Buffalo too, Lamar has a history of shitting his pants in big games, literally. I'm going to go with the Bills here. I think their consistency on offense proves better than the consistency of Baltimore's defense. Give me the Rams going into the Link. I think that's going to be the toughest game for me to pick. My head tells me the Eagles. My heart tells me the Rams. I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they I don't know. I honestly just think Sean McVay is a better coach than Nick Sirianni, and I think the Eagles like to plummet in positions like this ever since that Super Bowl. Give me the Lions. No notes there. Give me the Lions against the Rams. I want the Rams again in my heart. I just think the Lions. This probably is their year.
Yeah.
I think it is, and sadly, I think Josh Allen just can't win in Arrowhead. As much as I do want this to be a Bills-Lions Super Bowl in New Orleans with two fan bases of Buffalo and Detroit, two teams who haven't won a Super Bowl and have been plagued in the NFL for years, going into New Orleans, their fan bases just being there for a whole week, just getting drunk. It sounds like an NFL's masterpiece to me. It sounds like the most beautiful thing. But sadly, experience runs in this league, and Chiefs fans have experience of being at Super Bowl weeks as well. Give me the Chiefs-Lions. I had that. I made that actually one of my futures, and I cashed out earlier this year, and I'm really upset about that. Those two teams playing in the Super Bowl. And I did also pick the Lions winning. I think this might be the year of the Lions, but at the end of the day, again, if the Four Horsemen are playing, I'm picking the Chiefs. So I don't think their devil magic runs out anytime soon. I did predict them to win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to stick with them.
Pretty sure I had Chiefs-Lions at the beginning of the year, too.
So we'll look back at the graphics once this year comes to an end, and we'll repost them. We'll see how we did. But, yeah, give me the Chiefs-Lions. Give me the Chiefs.
Here's my thing.
I hate it.
I know. It is tough. I could definitely see them going to the Super Bowl. Like, that is not far beyond the stretch of my mind. I just think that they are not very good. I talked to a Chiefs fan the other day, and he said that they were bad. In his words, they said that they were a bad team.
They say this last 2 years, though, going into the playoffs. And
here's the thing, though. This is the first year, though, where I've said that, and it's really true. Like, this is...
We don't know yet. They haven't played. They haven't played a playoff game.
Last year was doable. The year before that, they were great.
And I think they won more games in the regular season than this year than they did in the last 2 years.
But, I mean, there were a lot of close shit that went down in those games. And you're right. Winners win. Winners win. They get it done when it needs to be done.
It might be ugly. They find a way to win every time.
But I don't know. It's a tough stretch they're about to enter into. I think the Texans are a fighter team. I don't think they're a team that wins this game, but I think they are a team that kind of fights in this game. And then I think the Bills or Ravens, if they play to their best, I don't see them losing to the Chiefs. Personally, I think the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and the Ravens the first game of the year were this close to beating them. So I mean,
a lot of teams are this close.
But like I said before, I don't think it matters at all because I think whoever comes out of the NFC Championship is going to win it. That's honestly my thought. I don't like the Chiefs. I could see beating the Bills and Ravens because they've seen them so much and all that and experience and whatnot.
And they have to go into Arrowhead.
Yeah,
every team has to go into Arrowhead.
But I think on a neutral site, if it's the Lions playing the Chiefs, I think the Lions are a very talented team. And
they are. What worries me is Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo for the Chiefs. They're head coach and defense coordinator. Yeah. One of the best defense coordinators maybe to ever coach football ever.
Yeah.
They might just have more experience. And don't get me wrong, this Lions offensive and defensive staff of Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are two of the best we've seen in modern history, but they haven't done anything. And what does he say when the rubber meets the road?
Yeah.
I think that, dude, I don't know what it is. The Chiefs realistically lost one game this year. Realistically lost one game, and it was to the Bills. We will throw that last game against the Broncos away. No offense, but they literally started Carson Wentz.
What's their record?
They started Carson Wentz.
What's the record?
Carson Wentz shouldn't be on the football field. Anyway, I don't know what it is. It's every year we wake up on the first football Sunday of the playoffs, and you say, "There's no way the Chiefs can do this again." Yeah. I'm not going to be on the wrong side of history this year. Nothing's changed, in my opinion. Have their games gotten a little closer? Yes, but I think that's just because they don't care in the regular season. They're too experienced. And again, my only issue is you have to go into Arrowhead. And then, yes, maybe in the Super Bowl neutral site, Lions are banged up, man. Dan Campbell's never been in that spot. He kind of choked last year in the NFC Championship. He might get too aggressive. Andy Reid might capitalize off that. Yeah. I can just see the script playing out in my head. If the Chiefs they're going to will their way to win. Every team, there's a couple teams that are more talented. Not every team. A couple teams that are more talented. Maybe not IQ wise.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I know I picked the Lions to beat the Eagles. I know both of you guys both have the Rams beating the Eagles. But to be 100% honest, I think there's one team that if they face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl will beat them. I think the Eagles would beat the Chiefs. I'm just being honest. I think they outskill them in almost every position except for quarterback. And I think that does
Most
mean
important one.
something. I think that
Most
does
important
mean,
one.
I know it is very important.
What about
but
the head coach?
I think that does mean something. And I think if Patrick Mahomes is running for his life and getting drilled on almost every other play, it's going to be really hard for him to have a really good game. And I think the Eagles are a team that could do that. I think if you want to, Avengers assemble to beat the Chiefs, I think you want the Eagles to win this game against the Rams. If you are a Chiefs hater, you are rooting for the Lions and the Eagles to match up in the NFC Championship, because I think both those teams could definitely beat the Chiefs. But I think the Chiefs first got to make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be super easy.
It's not going to be easy. It never has.
But I think it's just one of those things where if they keep relying on these last minute, we got to get it together, we got to block a kick, we got to get a call. Like, I think if they keep relying on that to win games. Now, granted, they're still one of the best teams in the NFL. I'm not taking that away from them. I think, honestly, realistically, if they didn't get some of the certain breaks they got during the year, they're like a 13-win team. It's not that big of a difference. But I think it's just one of those things where it's a what I've been calling an unsustainable brand of ball that I think is going to be really hard to keep up through 3 straight weeks of playing pretty decent teams that have played you a lot and are ready to play you again. And, I think this is just the year where teams start figuring it out just enough to win a game.
Last note on the Chiefs. I also want to remember the last time we saw them play as a full team. It was on Christmas Day against the Steelers, and they made the Steelers. Granted, the Steelers did turn out to be absolute frauds in the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They put the nail in the coffin of the Steelers season, essentially, making Russell Wilson look like an idiot on national television, along with just the rest of that team. They kind of put the fraud badges officially on the Steelers, and they played maybe their best football game of the year in that last game of the season that they all played. And I think that's maybe a little bit of foreshadowing. And like you said earlier, it might have been just smoke screens the whole year. They're not running what they want to.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting because they know everybody's watching them. They're the model right now. So.
And I mean, granted, I will say that I think if they did have their full power staff of wide receivers, I probably would have picked them to win the whole thing.
And Pacheco maybe
that's the only,
more healthy.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's kind of shaky is that it's kind of just Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, who hasn't played pretty much all year.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, a beaten up Pacheco.
D-Hop.
I think it's just going to come down to Andy Reid. I think that's pretty much a lot of what's going to have to happen because
I'm taking Andy Reid every time.
Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes is really, really good, but you're only as good as your coaches a lot of the time. And Andy Reid is going to have to put that team on his back to win if they win the Super Bowl, it is all because of him. Like Patrick Mahomes had one of his worst seasons he's ever had. So I think if they go all the way and they do win it, I think Andy Reid is the one who deserves a lot of the flowers.
I guess we'll find out. Any last notes on playoffs? Sounds like we covered it all.
Nope.
I guess we'll save it for the end of the season, but we'll talk. I guess maybe we won't even talk predictions. Maybe we'll just talk after they get hired. But coach is fired, obviously, already because the NFL season's over for over half the league. Open jobs right now: Raiders, Jacksonville Jaguars, Chicago Bears, Dallas Cowboys. A couple teams that have available spots. The New York Jets. Only team that has gotten somebody has been the New England Patriots, which got Mike Vrabel. Great pickup, and I think we'll talk about that more when the season's over, and before like the draft comes up and stuff. But yes, some coaches to look out for, hires and fires.
Yeah,
and GMs.
I don't think he should. I don't think this is a smart move. I do see though, Dion going to Dallas trading Dak to the Titans, and then moving up and taking Shedeur with the first pick. Honestly, is like it. I wish that sounded crazy to me. It really just doesn't. I think it's a better idea for Dion to stay in Colorado, build a team there that you can definitely foster into a really solid competitive college football team, because I don't think his style of coaching would translate at all to the NFL, and I think it would be a pretty I don't want to call it blemish, but I don't know.
It could be.
I just think he's going to go in there and get embarrassed a little bit unless he hires like really good coordinators. He is not because I think somebody said it, I don't remember who it was, but like he can coach, but he can't teach anymore, and he can't and I think a lot of the NFL is like chess. That's what the NFL is. College football, it's more heart and passion and motivating your guys and getting there. Obviously, the chess point is still there, but a big part of college football is motivating and doing all that. And I think Deion's really, really good at that. But I don't know how well of a tactician he would be in the NFL to keep up. And that's a hell of a job. And the only reason I do want to see him go there is I want to see this back and forth between him and Jerry. Because if there's one person who I feel like will not give a fuck about Jerry Jones, it's Deion Sanders. So,
Jerry Jones, the actor.
Great actor.
Yeah, did you see the clip?
Yeah, I saw the
Yeah.
clip. But I think that's the biggest thing to keep an eye on currently is like what's going to happen in that situation, because the Cowboys hire is a really big deal because you got who was the coach forever?
Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett. Yeah, no, he was his little bitch.
Yeah, he was.
And that's what.
And so was Mike McCarthy was for 6 years.
That's what Jerry Jones wants to hire.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up going with. But we'll get into more of that once things start happening.
Yeah, we'll talk previews once people actually start getting hired and stuff, and once the season's over. So be on the lookout, by the way, if anybody's listening to this. Go check out if Jamal Murray scored 30 points in this game on Tuesday for the Denver Nuggets, because he hasn't scored 30 points all year. So something to look out for. Other than that, yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Go follow the socials up above Jackson's head or in the bio of the podcast. Go follow that. Go subscribe if you haven't already. Go shop Slug. Go shop Verb Energy Bars. Yeah, any other notes for the people?
He's got 25 right now.
So
Not 30. We don't know.
25 in the first half.
You never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Just make sure you go check out the box score, because if you do, you'll be just as happy as I am. Hopefully knowing that he scored 30. So other than that, you guys have a great rest of your week, and go watch football this Saturday, this Sunday, this Monday. Go watch football. I don't know what else to tell people. Yeah. Go tune in. That's what we're talking about. So come back and listen for the recap next week. I think we're going to go back to Thursdays. We're still talking about it, but next week will probably also be Thursday, just because to cover the national championship the day after it happens. That would just make sense. So, yeah, hopefully see you guys next week around this same time, and hopefully everybody has a good week. So, go tell somebody you love them. You might just make their day. Peace.
Peace.